Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Five Star Joshi Show here on the Fight Game Media Network, as well as my YouTube channel. I'm your host, Scott Edwards, and as you'd imagine, we have a very, very busy episode this week. Of course, Mayu Iwatani has left Stardom and joined Marigold. Meiko Satomura and Tam Nakano have both retired from professional wrestling, and so much more is mixed into all of that. So thank you everyone for listening. Today, however, I am joined by the Stardom Quests, Alex Richards. Alex, welcome to the show.
Hi, yeah, I decided to do a run-in NWO style. They call me the Kevin Nash of Stardom Quest because I too have one functioning knee out of two. So
Yeah, I mean, this obviously wasn't planned, but I mean, considering the news today, the day that we were recording this, it's always good to have a run in. I have no problem with the run in, so you'll be sticking with me throughout the episode. We'll be talking about everything around the world of Joshi, but it would be wrong if we started anywhere else besides, of course, Mayu Iwatani signing with Marigold. If you haven't seen it already, over on my YouTube channel, there is a breaking news audio of me talking about Mayu jumping over to Marigold. Of course, there was one for her leaving Stardom as well. If you want to check out both of those are legitimate, genuine reactions immediately after both press conferences. So definitely check those out. Now, Alex, I know that this is fun for you because obviously you haven't got to talk about Mayu signing with Marigold yet because this is fresh. Obviously, you guys covered her leaving, and you, unlike Dave Meltzer, knew what was going on. So, you know, you've been able to talk about it. You've been able to hypothesize for a year and a month, like myself. And now that it's here, now that she is signed, how are we feeling?
I mean, when she showed up on the press conference, I had the biggest smile on my face. This
Mm-hmm.
is just everything that I could have asked for. She is so perfect for Marigold, and I love jumps in wrestling. I know some people don't, but I love people going from WWE to AEW and vice versa. I would love if TJPW was more like how do you say it, predatory in the market, kind of for free agents, kind of like Stardom used to be. Like jumps
Mm-hmm.
are great, and people getting a fresh coat of paint and getting to do new stuff is awesome. But for Marigold specifically, I think this is the perfect time because they are losing Nanae, and they did just lose Bozilla. They needed to restock the top of the card a little bit, and Mayu is more than enough there to fill in for big matches and kind of replace Nanae as the person you can look to have the best match of the night, no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like for a lot of last year, a lot of the talk was, well, Julia will be here and then maybe Mayu will fill in for her. Um, Mayu filling in for really three people actually feels more fitting because of, I think, for me, the feeling of her just showing up. And anyone that has seen me tweet, if you've already seen the breaking news audio, you know how I'm feeling. I have been waiting a year and a month for this. I am very, very happy. Um, because again, to me, it didn't really matter about uh the promotion more than remembering and never forgetting that first Korakuen Hall show when Mayu had to go out there after Rossi was let go from Stardom. I will never forget that. And now I will never forget the genuine happiness that she had throughout this entire press conference. And it feels like a spark for Marigold that was long awaited with her hopeful arrival. And I think the most interesting thing beyond her comments and why she's here is just the overall matchups to come from this. I think for many people, at least if you have watched Marigold over the past year, there's a lot of new wrestlers that have become potential favorites, right? And one of the fresh matchups you kind of look at is one with Miku Ano, of course. That one I know for you, Alex, is one that jumps off the page. I know the idea for me of her versus a updated version of Mirai is very exciting. Obviously, her and Victoria Yuzuki both together and against one another is very exciting, and the list goes on and on and on. We'll go through her comments here in a second, but in terms of Mayu with these fresh matchups, what jumps out to you, and what do you hope to see? Especially, as we know how Marigold works, right? They are booking Korakuens as their major shows for most of the year, and then they'll do the Yogis or the Sumo Hall or what did they do at the beginning of the year? Um,
Ota.
Ota, yes. So like they will do the big time stadiums um a handful of times, but it's those Cork and halls, and I think for me that's what's most exciting is getting to see Mayu enter those Cork and Hall main events, which of course we don't have to wait long for because this Sunday she does just that when she goes one on one with Nanae Takahashi. This will be kind of it'll be fascinating to see how Mayu comes in because obviously she's not full time from the very start. But once Shine Forever comes around, she will be. So that's also exciting. But yeah, what is jumping out to you? Obviously, now that we sit here and the potential is now limitless for her in the company.
Beyond the obvious Miku Ono match and the chance to maybe have her wrestle Io one more time, like
Mm,
the what I really want to see is how she can elevate everybody because she is a
mhm,
floor raiser. Floor raisers are
yeah,
rare, but I remember one of the most memorable Stardom matches in recent history was her absolutely walking the dogs against Unagi Sayaka. She
mhm,
made Unagi work up to her, and it was like, if you don't get better, I am going to beat you up.
yeah,
Um, and I think she can do that for a roster that sometimes shows flashes of potential and sometimes doesn't.
sure,
Like Yuki Minami is sometimes good and sometimes not. But if Mayu's in there with Yuki Minami, you can trust she's going to be good. Somebody
yes,
like Naho Yamada, somebody like Ryoko Sakamura, like people who are going to be that Mayu's just going to go, you're going to get on my level or I'm going to leave you behind. And I think
mhm,
Marigold, to an extent, needs that with how many young wrestlers they have. They need somebody to just go, this isn't good enough and we have to be better. Kind of like
mhm,
she did in Stardom at times with Mina and Unagi. There's very public stories of her going, you guys aren't good enough. You have to get better. And they
right,
both did, and
yep,
it worked and it raised the level of everybody. So that's kind of what I'm really interested in is how can she drag up the Yuki Minamis of the world, the Rei
yeah.
Setos, the Kamon Minamis and stuff like that.
Yeah, she was very open about that during the press conference, especially saying, "I've been following Marigold closely, and my impression is there are just too many botched moves." As she let out a laugh, I don't know if I should say this, but there has been too many botched moves. I'm not sure if that is appropriate for a professional. Since I'm here, I feel I need to put on matches that satisfies the fans. So I think that Marigold, I'll be the one with the most experience. Then she realized Nanae still works there, which was very funny. And then she said she'll be the most experienced, so I want to keep an eye on training and all that. So she has essentially told the world that not only is she going to focus on bettering everyone around her, but it feels like that in a sense she will be also leading a training unit that is already led by the likes of Mirai, Nanai, and Fuka. And this is something that, just at the potential idea of that, you and myself have talked about before. You even have said it like there is a level of excitement for the future more than maybe even the present of what that training unit can do, right? That coaching and that leadership. And I think that's maybe the most exciting part about her addition and really embodies what Marigold was for from the start, right? It was about building the future of Joshi wrestling. And for her to already have her eyes on that, I think is more exciting than even just the matches themselves because, like you said, as you point out that Unagi match, one that I do fondly remember as well is that every single match is gonna feel like a test for the other wrestler. Um, maybe not Nanai, but pretty much everyone else, it does feel like it's gonna be a test, like, you're gonna have to raise your game to where Mayu is, and she's going to do everything in her power to bring you to that level, so I'm very excited. I'm very excited. I mean, that goes without saying, but I'm very interested to see who gets better with her around, um, who can live up to the, uh, high expectations that she seemingly has, and I think something else is who she gravitates towards because naturally that will happen, and we'll see that whether it be on screen or behind the scenes. Um, seeing those training videos and maybe what she is adding to the table will be a lot of fun. But her just this week doing the same shtick, that Rossi did of, "Oh, maybe I'll get some offers, maybe I'll go to America." All these different things, right? And then in the end, you knew where she was going, and she couldn't have been happier. Um, but yeah, the training is obviously an exciting part, I think, and wanting to keep an eye on that. I also think that there was something great for her just to simply say to Rossi, "Marigold needs Mayu," right? And he was
Mhm.
like, yeah. Yeah, we do."
Yeah.
Which brings me to the point that I don't think I've ever seen Rossi himself this happy. Um, he had tweeted because it is his birthday, he did tweet during the day that it was going to be the best day ever. Um, and you could just feel that watching, and I think that's kind of very special, in terms of obviously being reminded why this was inevitable and why, um, it's so much fun to see her here. And I will give Mayu one more credit. Her just going out of her way to be like, "I was not poached. Stop." That was another funny bit. There was a lot of
Yeah.
funny bits to this press conference because it's Mayu, but overall, I mean, it was just such a wonderful, presser start to finish because she not only prepared you for what she wants to do, but I think prepared you for what she needs to do to help this company move forward.
Yeah, and she's gonna bring a certain vibe and a certain energy that Marigold has to a degree, but I think she can kick it into high gear of this is a promotion that's fun. I think
Mhm.
that's something that Marigold can carve out for itself. The shorter shows, I love the shorter shows. One of them the other day was an hour and a half, and I was like, please God, more wrestling promotions do this. Like,
Yeah.
not every show needs to be 3 hours. There's too much wrestling. Just have a fun show, just have a good time. And Marigold kind of is that, like Chiaki doing
Yeah.
the dance with Matsui and I don't love Gigaton because I think now is awesome, but Megaton is fun. Like I like
Right.
Megaton. She's fun. And now you have a Mayu who's happy, who's just having fun herself. And I think that kind of energy can spread throughout the promotion and just be like, listen, we're all just having a fun time. This is a good vibes promotion. Check us out and you're gonna have a good time. And I think that's a good way
Mhm.
for Marigold to kind of distinguish itself from Stardom to an extent.
Yeah. Yeah. I absolutely agree, and I think her words really, regarding Stardom, should kinda be heard closely by the people that maybe don't like Marigold. It's not like she is here to say, "Oh, now that I'm here, this is the best." No, she said, "I think Stardom is the best promotion in the world. It's not like I'm thinking I'll surpass them the moment I arrive. The wall that is Stardom is incredibly high. So I don't have the mindset of immediately overtaking them, but eventually I want to make Marigold into a promotion that people eventually think of as the best. How will I feel when I watch it? I haven't felt that way yet, so I'm not sure. I might feel some frustration, wondering how things would have been if I stayed, but I have no regrets about leaving. I'll be watching with warm eyes and treating them as rivals, determined not to lose." Um, that that mindset is what's gonna do everything for them, and that mindset already feels very similar to that of the Marigold wrestlers as you see them, say, in the Marvelous Korakuen main event, which we'll talk about later, right? The genuine passion and care for a promotion. She hasn't been here for more than a day, and yet she already has that mindset, and I think, again, that's what sets her apart from many others. Um, of course, it would be wrong if I didn't hit on the overseas aspect, which she did as well because she had to be asked about it because, you know, Mr. Meltzer felt like making that a big thing. Um, which I had to go on shows and say, "Yeah, no, let's just no. That's not what's happening." But she made it very clear. And I think this was maybe the biggest takeaway to me, because she pretty much said, "I'm here so I could face my friends and not go anywhere else."
Yeah.
That is pretty much what she said, right? She's like, "Io-san and Kairi are real superstars, so one of the reasons why I transferred was because I want to wrestle with members like Io-san, Kairi, and even Julia." That was funny. Well, Io-san in particular is like an older sister to me, and I want to wrestle with her and team up with her. So, like, ultimately at the end, it was like, well, really, I'm here for Io, but the other two are pretty cool, which I just found so funny. And then in terms of going overseas, she said, I have 2 dogs and 3 cats. So I love Japan. I love my home. I don't want to leave my cats and dogs. Well, for a while, I wanted to work for various promotions as a freelancer. And thankfully, after that press conference, I received offers from so many different people, from so many different promotions, and from all kinds of people. But as a freelancer, it's a bit difficult to make your own schedule, negotiate your fee, and so on. So I'm relying on a promotion after all. I guess I'll end up staying in Japan because I have a dog and cat. But there's a possibility that I may go overseas one day. She just got a new dog.
Yeah, little Bob.
Bob is taking over the internet. That alone should tell you that everything you need to know. But I know people will continue to look at the idea of it and think of it. But I mean, for me, the stamp of approval was I'm winning the Grand Slam in this company, one way or another, and that takes time, right? Unless
Yeah.
Rossi books her to have all 4 titles in a day, which would be very funny.
Well,
Um, which
he
would be
might.
very
You never
funny.
know.
Give her the EO run that she never got. Um, I I'm just excited, right? Like, ever we can put all that behind us now. We can put the past year behind us now, and we can just look forward. And the excitement of Mayu Iwatani chasing gold again, and not just a championship that was made with the IWGP letters, but championship gold of the entire company is what excites me the most. And you look at her winning all those titles and the potential of what those reigns and title matches look like, it's hard not to be excited. I mean, I know one of the matches that come to mind just based on what's happening in Marigold right now isn't even within Marigold, but it is with the Marvelous Crew. A rematch with
Mhm.
Takumi Iroha obviously
Hell
jumps
yeah.
off the page, right? You and me both, I think, couldn't sing the praises of those matches from 2020 more than we already do. Um, those are the 2 matches that, like, I'll go back and watch and be like, "This is Mayu at her best in both ways," right? But one
Mhm.
way as the underdog, and then as you and me agree, which is, like, not agreed upon by any means by others, but you and me agree upon, the second match is actually the better match because it's when Mayu becomes the killer, and it's just so, so great. So and then the way with Takumi's going, I make jokes to you about Takumi all the time, but you can see that she is reinvigorated with all this, right? She is dedicated. And we'll talk about it later with the match against, or the finishing stretch against Gochika in that Korakuen match. But it just feels like I'm watching the Takumi that, even with obviously the things that hold her back, she can still be great. And that match excites me. But I would be wrong to not bring up Mio Momono, obviously, as well. Mio Momono versus Mayu Iwatani feels like the one Joshi dream match of uh this current group of talents that we haven't gotten yet. We haven't even been able to tease it yet. And now there's potential for it. Which obviously excites me. Uh and the idea of that and what that looks like is very exciting. Listen, I'll sit here and I will tell you all. If there's one match I can see Mayu have in Japan this year, it would be against Io. That goes without saying. But I'm given the other options because that is a unreachable thing at this time, because I don't know if you know this, Io is world champion. Um, but I'm just overall excited if you
Yeah, it's
couldn't
fine.
tell.
They'll put it back on Rhea in about a month. It's all right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We have time, right? But I can't sit here and not just be overwhelmingly excited about literally everything that comes with her being in this company. The fact that it all starts Sunday is just insane to me. It's a must see show. Rossi has said the show is sold out. He said it on Twitter.
Yeah.
Like, it's huge. It's huge. And obviously, it's all about the follow up. It's all about continuing the momentum, which will be fascinating because she's not going to be full time until later this month. She's going to have time to actually take off for once, which is crazy. but when she does become full-time, I feel like the vision for this company finally fully kicks in, right? I feel like yourself and Dylan, myself, we've talked about like it's been start and stop at times, in terms of the direction they want to go, and now there is a direction. There is no excuse. She is here. She is here to lead by example, and I think that's oh so exciting.
Yeah, and they Marigold made a big show in like March of everybody drawing battle lines and briefly
Mhm.
talking about factions in every promo, and then they all just kind of stopped. Um,
Yes.
and I would imagine with Mayu here now they can go back to that because it did seem like they were going to start moving
Yeah.
towards a faction heavy setup because Rossi likes them, Fuka likes them, Nanae likes them. They're gonna happen. Um,
Right.
and so I think now that they have Mayu, they can finally decide, okay, here's who we're gonna go with, and
Mhm.
here's how it's gonna fall. Because they probably
Yeah.
did wait after that, because they did all just kind of drop the faction pieces randomly. So I think
Yeah.
I think now we can go full on into it,
And
hopefully.
and when that time came around, I always thought to myself, well, if Mayu's coming in, why would you not wait? I mean, obviously there
Yeah.
was the fun idea of like making a faction with say Utami and Yuzuki, for example, and
Hmm.
seeing how that played out. But those two are already a duo, so you could just see it play out without the official faction being made, which I think is fun. And that will be the excitement. I'm excited for what factions may look like. I'm excited for legitimately everything because, as you know, I don't think there is any secret who I obviously gravitate towards in wrestling. Again, this is my like fourth video about Mayu this week. It feels like personally, I've been on other shows to talk about it. But yeah, it's pretty exciting, to say the least. We have a lot more excitement to talk about and some sadness. I think this has been for myself the most emotional week of wrestling in
A
forever.
while.
Um,
Yeah.
like every wave of emotion. I think there's been obviously like even watching her last match with Shuri, which I talked about on my reviews, it was like there was a sadness even to me, even though I was happy she was finally just because like wow, we're actually here. Like
Yeah.
this is it. And you could see it on both of their faces, and they had the home run of a match that they did, and now we're here. So I think that's obviously the most excitement. But I've talked over 40 minutes about just this press conference alone compared to videos. So I will direct everyone if you're over on the YouTube channel or if you're listening on podcast, you can go to youtube.com/ at Scott E Wrestling. There is breaking news audio for both post Mayu Iwatani leaving Stardom and of course her joining Marigold. Those are two videos, both of them 20 minutes each, worth your time. I'll also direct you to my two reviews over on the Fight Game Media Network YouTube channel. The 5-star review for All Star Grand Queendom 2025 is up there. If you want to go over to my YouTube channel, like I said, you can check out my other review because that kind of came together last second with Walker Stewart, who, of course, was on the call
Ooh.
at that show. Very happy to have him on. That was a lot of fun. But
Shouts out Walker.
yeah,
He's a
Walker's
good
the
dude
man. There's a lot of care put into
for sure.
what he does, and I think that can be appreciated by really anyone. I know when it comes to English commentary, it can be a tough job, or at least
Hmm.
some people make it sound like the toughest job. Um, but he does such an incredible job, and you can tell he cares, which I think more than anything will give you a good leash with wrestling fans. That if you care and you go out of your way to learn and know things, then that's really cool. But yeah, definitely check out both of those reviews. We talk about really what is one of the all-time great Stardom shows, one of the all-time great Joshi shows, and the end of an era, which of course was the Tam Road. The Tam Road is over, and I still sit here days later, and part of me just can't believe it.
Yeah.
Like, I just feel like she's gonna come back tomorrow or something. Like, she's not gonna, okay? Plain and simple. She's not going to, at least for a while. Like, it's wrestling. Like, I never rule out a retirement, especially when, it's Tam, and Tam's the most unpredictable wrestler I may have ever seen. And it went that way until the very end, right? Um, but I will sit here and admit, days removed, I'm gonna miss the shit out of her. That's just the truth. Like the the wave of emotions that come with Tam Nakano for myself have always been there
Yeah.
since when I started watching Stardom, and her absence already is super noticeable. Like, and maybe that's in part because Mayu's also gone. So, like, watching one of the Stardom shows this week, I think the only one that aired live, post Queendom, I was like, "What is this show? Like, what is this company? I don't know what I'm watching anymore." Because I've never seen a Stardom without either of them. Obviously, no one's ever seen a Stardom without Mayu, but um, I've never seen a Stardom without both of them on a show. Like, at least if one was out, the other one was there,
Yeah.
and I sit here and I've been thinking about it a lot with Tam and like what's her legacy and all these things, which I've decided I'm gonna make into a video because that's what I do. Um, but I just need to say because I've covered enough, but I just need to say I will miss her um a lot. Overall, I will miss her a lot because she always kept you on your toes, like no matter what your feelings towards Stardom was over the past year, I think she always brought out some sort of emotion for you, right? And whether it was like, "What are we doing, Tam?"
Mm,
or "Okay, sure, Tam." And then obviously the beginning of this year, which has been a whirlwind that, you know, included that incredible Korakuen match, this final match where she again fades off into darkness. She brought you something every time. That's something I can always give her credit for, right? She brought you something, she made you feel something. And what I recognize is for a lot of other fans, what I feel as a Mayu fan is what many of them feel towards Tam. So I can respect that. I can understand that. But her overall presence of confusion and ups and downs, I will miss that. I really will miss that. And I know for you who have gone through the same thing, you're gonna miss it too.
yeah, I mean, look, I admit wrestling needs people like Tam. It needs people like CM Punk. It needs people like Julia. Like they are the people who believe that they are the center of the universe, and they're gonna make that happen one way or another. And like they make this interesting. Hulk Hogan didn't become the biggest star in the industry by being a passive normal guy. The Rock didn't become The Rock by being a passive normal guy.
Mhm.
These are people who they believe they are the one. And
Right.
that's part of it. Like pro wrestlers have egos. They wouldn't, get brain damage for a living without the ego to satisfy. And somebody like Tam was so good at always making sure you paid attention to her. You
Mhm.
couldn't ignore Tam. You couldn't kind of forget Tam. There was always something. And I say this a lot about Utami, where I think without Julia, Marigold lost something because Utami isn't the one to do that kind of legwork to
Right.
make things interesting no matter what. She's not going to grab a feud by the scruff of the neck and go, hey, pay attention to me, pay
Yeah.
attention to this match. Tam Nakano was that. No matter who
Yeah.
she was wrestling, she had a lore thread. She was in doing columns, writing on Tokyo Sports. She was
Mhm.
doing interviews. She was, shooting angles. She understood that wrestling is more than what happens in the ring, and I will always respect people like that. People like Sari as well. Sari gets
Yeah.
that wrestling is more than what happens inside the
Yeah.
ring. And those people are rare, especially in Joshi. Like there's very few of them. And I think with Julia gone and with Tam gone, I think we will really miss the kind of shit stirring elements that they brought to the table. Because they did
Yeah.
make sure like I am always paying attention to what they're doing. And now
Mhm.
that's not there anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. While I do wanna do a video on her legacy, and I plan to do that from my perspective, not from the
Yeah.
overall overarching wrestling perspective, from my personal perspective, that will be that, because I wanna talk about my favorite stuff from her more so, and I'll celebrate my favorite stuff from her, but I will give her all the credit in the world. This past year has been as much of a roller coaster. Like, if you were to tell me what Tam's last year was and it wasn't this chaotic, I wouldn't have believed you, right?
Yeah.
0-6 in the 5-star, wins the world title at the final, drops it to Sayaka Otani, and ultimately, as I've said in the reviews, and I'll say it once more here if you haven't listened to those, I do think Tam's greatest contribution at the end of the day, yes, she's one of the biggest draws Joshi has seen in the last 20 years, blah, 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 blah. But to me, her biggest contribution is what she's done for Saya Kamatani,
Yeah.
right? This is now the star of Joshi, right? And specifically of Stardom, and right as we sit here and Stardom deals with every injury under the sun and then another one, um, you have an appreciation that Saya Kamatani's still there, right? And as long as she's there, as long as she's at the top of the company, you feel pretty good about where they are. So, at least that's my takeaway for now, is that while the injuries are too much, for sure, and we'll talk about the injuries here in a second, as long as Saya is reigning and as long as Saya is popular, that's going to be fine. And I think that's what Tam really put her last few years into. Obviously, she had multiple world titles and Wonder titles. She did herself some good. Um, but based on all of her biggest losses, it was always to build for Saya Kamatani, which is pretty cool. So,
Yeah.
um, and obviously, Saya Kamatani is probably the most popular Joshi wrestler right now. Be her
Oh yeah,
Sari, I
definitely.
guess, right?
I would say
In
Saya.
Japan, it's definitely Saya.
Mhm.
Um, you know, but those are the two I always see talk about is her and Sari. So, a job well done by Tam. Like I said, I'll have more about Tam and her wild legacy from my point of view. But I will always give her credit. She went from someone that wasn't supposed to be anything more, and she got to the top of pro wrestling. She's very similar to Mayu in that way. Right? They were never the chosen one, but they got
Mhm.
there and they got to the top. And I'll end
They
it by
both they
saying
both
this.
needed Arisa Hoshiki to retire to get there.
This is true. Um, they both loved Teresa Oshiki
Yeah.
by what I saw. But you know, you take the opportunity and you run with it. I will say this though, to wrap up my thoughts on Tam for this podcast. She went 0-4-3 against Mayu Iwatani. Thank you. Goodbye. Anyways, moving on because we have news in the world of Stardom now. Lots of news. That's really all we're going to be talking about Stardom wise today is news, because their shows that they had the one big show this week. Every like Golden Week for Stardom doesn't count this year, folks. I've decided it. Like I watched the one show that got up and I was like, the roster's hurt.
Yeah.
Everyone's tired. All Star Grand Queendom just happened. Like they could take a break as far as I'm concerned. Um, but we do know that on the 11th of May, it will be Saya Kamatani defending the World of Stardom Championship against Sayaka Kurara, which I called months ago. I just gave up on it because the wish kind of disappeared. And I just stopped thinking about it. I literally said when she won, I was like, it would make sense if she challenged Saya to try to redeem Tam at the end at this exact Korakuen. And then like it actually happened, and I was like, oh, okay, sure. I think it's because they had that singles match in Okinawa, and it just
Yeah.
completely threw me off. But this is the direction, and this is a direction that should shock no one as Stardom tries to build Carrara as soon as possible to help fill a massive void via Tam Nakano, which is crazy, by the way. I just want to point that out. Like they could have gone with Poi, Ano, and obviously they have their own popularity, but like they went with a future star, someone that Tam very clearly believes in, and we'll see what she does. Now, I will give them credit. Putting this match in Korakuen Hall is how you make it the best possible match because
Yeah.
for some reason, when Sayaka Kurara is in Korakuen Hall, she is like the biggest baby face this company has. It's insane. Um, she might be the biggest baby face they have anyways right now.
Well, with Micah hurt, yeah, it's
Yeah,
possible.
that is the world we live in. Crazy. Um, wow. I
And
guess
they've
Starlight Kid
shown their
too.
hand with Carrara, in fairness.
Yeah.
Like she's beaten two former world champions
Yeah.
over
That's
the past
true.
few months. Like they aren't
That's true.
obvious about a lot of stuff, but they have been obvious that they really like Carrara. So
She did beat She did beat Saya Kamatani
Yeah,
last year.
yeah. She beat
Very
Kamatani. She beat Tora. Like
yeah,
that's two of the last three people to be world champ. You know.
pretty crazy. Yeah, well, she wasn't gonna beat Tam. Let's not get crazy now. But I think this being the direction's a good one. Obviously, her using the
Yeah.
wish not to save Tam was a good one. Besides that, and I am looking forward to this one. I think it will be the ultimate test of both where Stardom is post Tam and Mayu, and it will also be the ultimate test of can Carrara be that uh new Cosmic Angels top star that they want her to be. Obviously, they won't put her in Yogi, challenging for this belt. That's a little crazy, but this is the start of that build up, and this is the risks they have to take. I don't really think this one's much of a risk as much as the other
Yeah.
championship match, just based on the reactions and popularity. But again, I will applaud Stardom for going with the future, which I'm going to do again here because, of course, at the Cork and Hall show that's like a week after or something. Um, I think it's the I don't have
21st, I
the
think.
21st. Yeah, so 10 days later, Starlight Kid will defend the Wonder Star Championship against Hanako. We knew this was coming, obviously, after Hanako won the Battle Royal. We learned also why Momo Watanabe didn't win that match because she's
Yeah.
hurt still,
Crazy.
um, among others, which we'll get to here. Um, but yeah, this is the biggest risk for sure. I have been very, very open on my thoughts about Hanako. And, I think for sometimes she shows signs, sometimes it's not there. But again, I 100% respect Stardom's direction here because you're trying to build new stars and you're pushing people into these spots. Now, could I just one time get Tomoki Naba in one of these matches? Please. I don't know how many
Yeah.
times her and Starlight Kid have to stare each other down to get it, but getting a little tired. Um the worry for me in this match is that Starlight Kid obviously is going to have to be the one that carries it. And Starlight Kid, I don't know if she's physically able right now. Right?
Yeah,
She's
she looks bad.
banged up. She
Yeah.
does, she does. She doesn't look like Starlight Kid that she even did a few months ago, right? I mean, the match with Rena, she was still hurt, right? She's been hurt since the Natsupoi match, but um really since that Konami match, I think it's become most notable. Like she is beat up. So that's tough, but it's an opportunity for Hanako. Again, I have no problem putting a Wonder Star title match in Corrigan Hall. I think that's always smart. And that's why I have no problem with any of these matches. If you're going to take chances, do it at shows that you once upon a time weren't booking big for. So, yeah, it's cool with me. I think it's a weekday show, so that's fascinating.
Yeah, I think it's a Wednesday
Um,
or something.
yeah, that'll be interesting for them. But
Mm.
what are your thoughts on Hanako getting the big shot here?
Um, I mean, if they're going in on the young core, I probably would have waited on Hanako. I feel like you could make her a bigger challenge for Kid, since she is the only pushed act left in EXV. Like you could have built this one up, I think, a lot better, and you probably could have just done an Aya Sakura or something instead, because
That would have been so real.
Kid is not losing first defense after Yoko Arena, whereas if this was V2 or V3 after that, I think you could have realistically made it so that Hanako is like a big challenger. That's probably my only problem with it, is it's a bit of a waste to do her right after the big show when they like her so much. They could have realistically built her up as a credible challenger, for near Yoyogi, if not Yoyogi itself.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that's fair, and obviously doing it through a battle royal is never, I think, the best way to maybe build someone up. But
Yeah.
hey, if she's Jey Uso, that's fine. Anyways, moving on. Please don't get mad at me. Please, no one get mad at me. I mean, it's fine. You're probably mad at me for other reasons, but
Yeah.
this one's not the one to die on. Anyways, moving on. Micah final, and I say this finally because it's been 3 years of being injured. Micah is finally now she is going to take time away from the ring. I don't think this goes without saying. It couldn't have come at a worse time,
Yeah.
in terms of where Stardom is. That being said, I always, always, always support wrestlers taking care of themselves. I wish Starlight Kid would do the same. I know she can't, but she should. But Micah will be taking time away after the Fukuoka show, which is the 6th of May. And she'll be gone for an extended period, which with that brings me to the list of injuries. A long, long list of injuries. So as we know, Ami Sarai, Zena, and Ane Kanaya and Matoy Hamabe have all been out of action
Mm-hmm.
for a long period of time. Hamabe I believe, had surgery on her knee,
Yeah.
and Kanaya had surgery on her hand. So those two are going to be out for a while. And obviously, I think those were two of the more exciting rookies over the past year in terms of different things. I thought Matoy had the basics down.
Mm-hmm.
Kanaya just jumped off the page. So that obviously stinks, but wishing them the best. Um, I think also like taking all these breaks right into Golden Week should probably show to Stardom moving forward that your schedule is too much. We've been over this before. I don't want to rehash it, right? We saw them get a little bit better last year. Hell, I thought they were a little bit better earlier in this year, but it clearly it's clearly adding up. The other injuries right now, May Sarah and Hanan are both out till May 6th, so they'll be back in Fukuoka at least. Mo Watanabe is out indefinitely with an ankle injury that she's been dealing with since her match with Mercedes Monet at Revolution. Yes, Revolution.
Yeah.
Suzu Suzuki is still out. Um, she got hurt in the May Sarah match. They said they're reassessing after the show on May 1st, which has happened. So we'll know probably by the time this podcast comes out. I'm sure they'll announce the weekend cards. Saki Kashima was out, but I believe she came back today. I should probably
Yeah, I
check
think
those
she was one of
results,
the ones back.
which is good. Natsuko Tora came back. Konami came back. So all these good things, right? All these different wrestlers are back at least. Because Konami and Tora and Kashima all had to miss the big show due to sickness, I believe. Rian had to miss the show today due to sickness. So between the sickness and the injuries, it's a lot. And obviously, there's never a good time for injuries or sickness. But I think most importantly is that all these wrestlers are taking care of themselves at least. And hopefully, in time, they're not ones that keep a lot of these folks out for a long time. Obviously, having dates for some of them is great, but there's still a lot of wrestlers that don't have dates. And then, of course, there's Kyoko Katatsu, who I have no idea what she's doing. Um, the most fascinating member of Stardom. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, what are your thoughts overall on the injury toll that Stardom's now dealing with in a time where they're obviously already dealing with massive absences with Tam and Mayu leaving?
Yeah, I mean the Micah one seems like they finally signed off on her taking time off, which means they
Yeah,
knew they wouldn't
right.
have Mayu and Tam. So it's like they clearly wanted to just unburden themselves with the established main eventers and are gonna go in their own direction.
Yeah,
Um, and the rest of them is probably just people who were like slightly hurt in the lead up to Yoko Arena finally resting themselves, or they all just went too hard for the big show and now need to rest. I know it happens like a lot with WrestleMania, I think, where people they go
yeah,
balls to the wall for WrestleMania and then they're like, "Oh, I can't work Backlash now. I'm very
sure.
sore." So I think it's just part of wrestling. I think they do it a lot. But definitely they probably need to reduce that number. I don't know why they suddenly are the ones with a lot of injuries because it was Marigold last year and now it's Stardom. And it just
Yeah,
seems to be a constant cycle of like one of them will have a bunch of people out with injury no matter what. And it's very unfortunate.
yeah. It is. But obviously wishing them all a return here very, very soon because it's I'll tell you this, watching the show today or Tuesday, I was
Yeah.
like, what am I watching
Well, like this
here?
this is a storytelling company now, and with
Yeah.
most of your story people out, your cards really have nothing. Like without May and Suzu,
Mhm.
like that's when you're only still going stories, and it can't happen. So what
Yeah.
is there actually going on these shows? And it's the same with like Konami and Kotatsu. That was one of the only
Mhm.
things happening, and now they can't even do that. And it definitely makes the card seem a lot less
Yeah,
interesting when all of their storyline stuff is gone.
for sure, for sure. But let's get into the results from these shows real quick. I won't have too many thoughts other than they should push Aya Sakura. We had Waka Tsukiyama defeating Akira Kuragane in the opening match on Tuesday in Fukuyama. We had Shuri, Rana Yagami, defeating Saida and Momo Kogo. Oh, and there's also like that big story point of stars that kind of can be dissected over the
Yeah.
next couple weeks, right? But with Hanan out and FWC wanting nothing to do with them, maybe the story's already decided. FWC defeated Lady C and Tomoki Naba. So I did watch this match, and I kept like, I just kept looking. I was like, why are we still going? I was like, this was so long. It was 15 minutes and 10 seconds. Like, it was solid because like they're all good wrestlers. But I was like, this is a long match. And ultimately that comes down to what they need to do on these shows, right? And that's fill time. Um, for better or worse, they're trying to fill time on these shows with longer matches because the roster is drained, and you have to pick different wrestlers to do that. I'd say. Starlight Kid, Azumi, and Miyu Amasaki defeated Micah, Hanako, and Rion. So for those who are trying to keep track of what EXV looks like, currently it's just Hanako because Rion missed the show today, and well, Micah's still there. But like as of right now, in terms of injury, or so on, or sickness or whatever, it is Hanako. Once Micah wraps things up, which is pretty crazy. We also had the first appearance of Saya Kamatani after the Tam Nakano retirement match, and I have to say this really weird. Like
Yes.
I said this to you as immediately as I watched it. I was like, I feel like she should have been the one that took the time off, just from a mental standpoint of the way that show ended, and now she's just kind of back into the swing of things. I was like, it's odd, but Sai is so fascinating that, and she's the biggest star in the company, and she's healthy, so why would you not have her on the show? Um, but just from like a story standpoint, you have to hope like we attack this somehow, right? We attack her emotional connection to Tam and how that all went within hate. At least that's what I would go with, right? There
Yeah.
seems to be a natural direction there. But right now it's just focused between her and Carrara. Sayaka Tani, Natsuko Tora, Ruaka, and Azusa Naba defeated Natsupoi, Yuna Mizumori, Sayaka Carrara, and Yuri Hime. I also have to say this, and maybe I'm wrong here, but I am shocked by how much of a sidekick Natsupoi is again. I don't know if anyone else feels that way, but I'm relatively stunned
Yeah, that
because
wipeout reign did not do her stock any good somehow.
no, and it feels like she went from being Tam's number 2 to now Sayori's number 2
Hmm.
very, very clearly. Um, which obviously stinks because we all love Poi. We all think she's great. And she feels like a very obvious challenger for Saya Kamatani in this title reign. But if we were going to guess who gets first dibs between those two, it certainly feels like Seriano, which I'm not against, by the way. Saya versus Seriano sounds fun to me, but
Oh yeah, they
not
kicked ass in a
Natsu.
tag recently.
Yeah, they did, and Natsu. It's just Natsupo and Saya Kamatani have that Cinderella journey match that I will never forget for some reason.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
for the white belt, and I just feel like
Mm.
running that back would be great. Um,
I don't know
maybe
if
someday.
Natsupoi is in there anymore though. She's kind of
I know,
changed
I
a
know.
bit.
She also looked like, as someone pointed out on one of the reviews that I did, she looked like she got hurt during that Mako match. So it's good that she's wrestling because she
Yeah.
kind of came up like it looked like she re-aggravated the ankle. So that's fascinating. But she seems to be
Mm.
fine. And then your main event was Seriano, which I think kind of gives you a sign of where we're going.
Yeah.
Um, it was Konami and Rina defeating Soriano and Aya Sakura, which fine main event.
Hmm.
Um, again, this is just where the company is right now. But I will just say, because I do want to say this real quick, we'll do a little breaking Sari moment here. Sari has hilariously said that she's going to win the IWGP Women's title.
Yeah.
Um, Again, her confidence shouldn't shock you, but she is not done chasing Mayu Iwatani, which I needed to bring up because obviously my feelings towards both of those wrestlers is very well known. And the fact that she's like, listen, you may not have the title anymore, but I need to beat you. I think that's great. So when they're both celebrating their 15th anniversary in 2026, I will highly anticipate that match in a sold out Korakuen Hall. That is just my assumption. I don't know that for sure. Please do not assume. But I am looking forward to when they get to face off. But back to Stardom results here. The show is from Thursday. The show did not air live, so I have no thoughts on it whatsoever. But Hanako defeated Akira Kurigane and Tomoki Inaba in a three-way match. You had, my God, getting results up sometimes can be so difficult, as you know. Yuta Mizumori and Aya Sakura defeated Saida and Momo Kogo. Man, these cards are crazy. Just like looking at them in real time, being like, oh right, all these people are gone. Maika and Waka Tsukiyama defeated Hina and Lady C. Yep.
The stars are all here, folks.
Yep. We had this might have been the good match on the show. Starlight Kid Azumi and Miyu Amasaki. Ended disqualification. Tough. They beat Konami, Rock, and Rina. Konami was DQ'd when she assaulted the referee. So
Of course.
there you go. Saki Kashima made her grand return. She teamed with Rana
Ooh.
Yagami and Shuri to face Suzuki, Kogama, and Yuri Hime. So I'm sure there was plenty of comedy in that match. They should have Suzuki pinned Shuri, so they could have just ran that match, in my opinion. But that's fine. I know Sari's coming, but like that's months away. Yogi's in June, right? Like so.
Yeah.
I'm wondering what. So for those who don't know, the only pay per view this month for Stardom is the Saori Natsupoi show. So fascinated to see what they run there outside of Actress Girls and Actress Girls lore, and
Probably
that's all
not
they're gonna run.
much.
Yeah, you're right. Which is fine. You know, it's
Yeah.
their show, and
Yeah.
it'll be a fun show. I'm fascinated to see what they put together for a main event. Hopefully, they're teaming, in some form against someone cool, but we'll see. Natsupoi, Sayano, and Sayaka Karara defeated Natsuko Tora, Saya Kamatani, and Azusa Naba, with Sayaka Karara pinning Saya Kamatani. So there you go. Got a big win over
That's
the
crazy.
champion. Yeah, it is.
They love that trope. It
They
is
do.
crazy.
They do. But let's get to some more serious business here. And that was, of course, the retirement show for one Meiko Satomura. Satomura, the
Hell yeah.
final. To think that this week has included a Tam retirement, Mayu leaving Stardom and joining Marigold, and one of Joshi's legends, Meiko Satomura, retiring. It's been a long week. But
Yeah.
I will say that this show was a really lovely watch for anyone who hasn't watched it. Um, I think for retirement ceremony, some people get very emotional. For me, this
Mm-hmm.
was like, and this was obviously very emotional. But I thought this was very like heartwarming as well. Maybe because of all the people that just appeared for Satomura and the overall happiness that she has, right? When I watched Arisa Nakajima's retirement, that was very emotional because again, that really wasn't her choice, right?
Yeah.
She kind of had to. Mako's making this choice. You know why I know she's making this choice? Because she's just kicked ass for the past 6 months with no
Yeah.
hesitation. So that being said, Aja Kong tried to break me, and that was kind of mean. But other than that, because her quotes unbelievable. We'll talk about
Oh,
that here
dude.
in a second. There's a reason Alex calls Aja Kong the greatest of all time, and that quote alone, I think, is like that's the beginning of the case and the end of the case all in one.
Yeah.
Just like what else do you need, you know? Um, but we'll just go over the undercard results real quick here. Sega Katsuki and Yura Suzuki lost to Yurika Oka and Yuna when Sega Katsuki was pinned by Yurika Oka. Very cool to get Senka on the show.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, there's
Big
a
ups.
connection there. Shout out to the Bloodline of Red. that I will be ever forever calling it the best bloodline in pro
Oh yeah.
wrestling, which is the Chigusa Nagayo bloodline. But that was a fun opener. You had Jaguar Yokota and Mayumi Ozaki facing Shin Sakura Hirota, dressed as Meiko Satomura, of course, and Jinsei Shinzaki. So that was as you'd
Fun.
expect as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun. Like these undercard, I think someone perfectly said it. Like the first three matches are comedic and whatnot, and then you kind of lock in for the semi and main event. Speaking of which, you had a battle royal which featured the likes of obviously everyone you see here on the screen. You, Miyuki Takase, Hiroyo Matsumoto, Chikaya Nagashima did get taken out of it due to an eye injury, but she was
Oh no.
originally scheduled. Sonoko Kato, Ryo Mizunami, Soy, Zones, and a bunch of mysteries. The mysteries included Nanae Takahashi, Takumi
Ooh.
Iroha, Takako Inoue, Kyoko Inoue, Shinobu Kandori, and Minoru Suzuki, which I feel like we all should have saw that one coming.
Yeah.
And it ended with Ryo Mizunami winning by eliminating Minoru Suzuki, which was ultimately a great payoff to a battle royal for some reason, just because how into Mizunami the crowd was and how much they wanted to see her win over Minoru Suzuki, which I agree with. That's how exactly
Yeah.
how I felt watching. Um, but if you're looking for the wrestling where you kind of lock in, the semi-main event brought that to you, and that of course was Venny, Elena Cross, and Nina Samuels versus the super trio of Sari, Miko Wada, and Dash Chisako. This guy kicked ass. I know, shocker that a match involving Sari and Dash. Those two are
Venny.
like the best, and Venny, of course. Those two are like the best bet if you turn on a Sunday Girl show and they're around. Those three, ultimately. If they're around, you watch that match, and you're like, wow, that was great. That was probably the best match
Yeah.
on the show each and every time. So they put them all in the same match, and it was very good. Should not surprise you that Dash won the match. She was kind of mean to Nina Samuels in the end. Like she hit a double foot stomp, right? They
Yeah.
broke up the pin. She hit another one, and then
Oh
she just
no.
decided to do the splash at the end for the win. But Lana Cross being back in Japan is obviously a lovely thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to see her and Venny team up again now that I know they're capable. Obviously, they had the very short tag title reign. There was some Venny and Sari minutes in this match that were just you know what they do. Just
Mm-hmm.
fantastic stuff. And Dash, okay, I have to say this because if I don't, I'll forget. Dash picked up the microphone after this match, and I don't know if it's just based on how things have been going lately with all these wrestlers announcing their retirement. My heart dropped, sunk,
Yes.
fell to the floor. I was like, "Do not do this to me, Dash. Do not do this to me right now." That would have broke me probably more than the Mako stuff, which is crazy. But I was like, I can't handle another one. We're good. We need you, Dash. And no, she was just preparing you for the main event, which was very nice. Which, speaking of which, was the main event, the final match, kind of Meiko Satomura. It was Meiko Satomura and Minami defeating Chihiro Hashimoto and Aja Kong when Meiko Satomura hit the Scorpion Rising on Aja Kong to get the win. Alex, I know you only got to watch the ceremony, but I will tell you all the very obvious fact that you should all go out of your way to watch this match.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's something about retirement matches that I think just because obviously like the end is here, but there is a beautiful part of this match where Hashimoto hits a devastating power bomb on Meiko, and she just starts to break down to tears and tags out. She's like, "No, I can't do this. Like, I'm
Wow.
not ending this." Minami's emotions throughout this were incredible, fantastic. Like, she was just so you could tell how much this meant to her that one, she was picked to be in it, and two, what Meiko means to her. I thought that was really lovely. And Aja Kong, I mean, everyone knew Aja Kong was putting in the shift, right? Like, there's a reason she was in this match. Aja Kong may not always have to go out there and try, right? Because why would she? She's Aja Kong. She could Aja Kong could show up, and that's enough. Um, but especially for this match, you expected it, you hoped for it, and she put everything she could into it. And I just think that's kind of the beauty of the retirement match as a whole, is seeing someone like Aja Kong, who is obviously the senior to Meiko, be so emotional. When Aja Kong makes her entrance and she has tears in her eyes, you're just like, come on, man. Like it was incredible. It was incredible. And I think anyone that didn't watch this match, you should. If you did watch it once, you should maybe watch it twice, because for me, there's always something about seeing the little things, noticing the little things, especially in a retirement match. And I'll just say this: Aja Kong hit Mako with, I think, 3 Saito suplexes. They were right on her neck. I was like, okay, Mako, like, I know you're retiring, but like, easy now. Because boy, oh boy, did she feel it. It was incredible. It was incredible. And then after the match, Mako's like, Aja was like, I'm not done here. I want to team with you one more time. That led to an impromptu tag team match where Hiro Hashimoto, Miko Wada, Senka Katsuki, Takumi Iroha, and Yuna all jumped in and took part, which was very fun. That was a 5-minute draw that ended with Aja Kong holding Chihiro Hashimoto up to get hit with the Scorpion Rising. So really lovely, really fantastic. And then, of course, there were the words of Aja Kong afterward that I need to find here. There we go. Um, As Aja Kong said, following it all, she said, "The only reason I've survived this long is because of you, Meiko Satomura. This is all your fault. You've kept Aja Kong alive. Don't ever forget that. Even if I've become some kind of monster or a rampaging beast, it's because I met you, Meiko Satomura. Even though you're just a junior, no matter what I did, you never broke. No matter how hard I tried to destroy you, you never shattered. The harder I came at you, the harder you came back. In these 39 years, there were people like that, peers, seniors, but I never imagined a junior would push me this far. That's because it was you, Meiko Satomura. And for that alone, I sincerely thank you." She also talked about how, um, as she continues to train wrestlers, Aja will be there to fight them, which was really lovely as well. And overall, I just think, oh, here's the quote exactly. This is a shout out to at Mara Wrestling. "You may step down from the ring as the wrestler Meiko Satomura today, but you still be leading Sendai Girls and sending more talent into the world, right? If so, I don't think my battle with you is over yet. Everyone you send in, that one, everyone else. No matter how broken down I get, I will keep smashing them in the ring." Alex, I know how you feel about Aja Kong, so I will let you just give your opinions overall on the wonderful words she shared after this match.
um, Aja is not is an amazing in-ring wrestler. But what will always endear her to me is her approach to pro wrestling. And it takes me back to an interview that I remember. She was like, there will, as long as I'm alive, there will be Aja Kong. And
Mm,
once I'm gone, that's it. Like, this is a woman who will never leave pro wrestling. And I think there's something so beautiful about this. Like, this is her life. This is what she is. She is Aja Kong. The woman behind the underneath the paint doesn't exist to a degree. And
mm,
it's like, I will continue to give my life to pro wrestling. Mako, you can go and other people can go, but I will still always be here to test the new wrestlers and to make sure that they're up to par with us and our legacy. And she's so special to me. Like, Aja is one of the most special wrestlers of all time. And I love how much she loves pro wrestling. Like, I love pro wrestling a lot, probably too much. And even then, I don't think I love it as much as Aja Kong. And every time she speaks about the subject, you just get a sense that she is willing to give her body and her blood to this business. And it's
mm.
so amazing to whenever she gets to bring it up. And the fact that she respected Mako to this level says so much about Mako.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
I know for a fact Mako is one of the best women's wrestlers of all time. But for Aja Kong of all people to be like, you were 10 years my junior and I respect you like a peer and I will respect your trainees because you are that special. Like, that is insane to me.
yeah,
So everything about that was just fantastic.
yeah. It was fantastic, and if you needed more, confirmation at the power and respect for Meiko Satomura. Boy, oh boy, did you get it in this
Yeah.
ceremony. The ceremony started with Kairi Sane, Io Shirai. I don't know why I can always say Kairi Sane and not Io Sky, but that's just how it goes, and it will always be that way. You had Asuka, you had Shinsuke Nakamura, you had Hiroshi Tanahashi, you had Devil Masami all calling in on video form. And then the incredible amount of legends rolled out there. You had the Crush Gals photo, which was like the coolest thing because
Yeah.
they came out separate, and then once Nagayo got out there, she's like, "Hold on, wait a minute, no." And maybe the best part about this is Nagayo literally went back to commentary after, which just popped me
What a
tremendously.
worker.
I know, she's great. That picture was amazing. We got a Hokuto appearance, which is always lovely. As anyone's ever seen their matches, there's obviously clear love between those two.
Hmm.
You got the Gaia crew out there. Shinsei Shinzaki reappeared. Kento Kobashi was before the match. Like the list goes on and on of just
Bull. We
incredible.
got Bull Nakano.
Yes, Bull as well. It was like she got the who's who in
Yeah.
many ways, right? Obviously, while also wrestling Aja Kong. Um,
Yeah. Like I would guarantee like of the living Joshi legends, like all of them
yeah,
attended. Apart from like Toyota, I guess she's probably the only one. But
yeah,
like the rest of them were on this show in some form or fashion.
which is insane to me. Just
Yeah.
absolutely insane. But that is the beauty of wrestling in many ways is how even in retirement or what was about to be retirement, she brought so many wrestlers together. I think that's really the lovely thing about this. And now I'm sad because it's over. Mako is done. This was the end
Yeah.
of her career. She is not coming back. Like she feel there's wrestlers where like they retire and you're like, oh, maybe they'll come back, right?
Yeah.
There's no part of me that watched this and said, oh, she's coming back. She looks so happy for this to be it. Like she just knew, like, this is my time. Now she's going to focus on trading the next great. Mako, I don't know if you know this. You trained Chihiro Hashimoto. Um, you did it. You already accomplished your goal, but you know what? I'm not going to stop you. Go for it. She said to Tokyo Sports, "My goal is to discover superstars and bring back the heyday of women's pro wrestling. So I want to
Oh.
travel not only to Japan, but also to various countries around the world to find good talent. Athletes like wrestlers, uh, judokas, boxers would be good. Uda Abe, she's a charismatic and good athlete, isn't she? I believe that is a proven Japanese wrestler, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm.
So she has her sights set on the world, and I think that's obviously very exciting and kind of expected. Um, but she accomplished so many things in her incredible career, uh, and like you said, very clearly one of the greats of all time. And it's hard to capture everything she's done, but she's done it on a worldwide scale, right? Her I think her going to WWE, obviously, while it took some years away from her career, unfortunately, right, when she just did kind of nothing,
Yeah.
it also put her on the map for people that maybe didn't know who she was. And
Yeah. I mean,
sometimes,
she
go
got
ahead.
like mentioned on NXT, and WWE acknowledged her retirement, and it's like,
Yeah,
Aja Kong isn't gonna get that. Aja Kong is the
right,
greatest ever, but she's not gonna get that from WWE. Like
right,
even that company acknowledged Mako. Even
yeah,
people in Britain acknowledged Mako.
right,
Like
right,
she truly was global, in a way
mhm,
that most people maybe never could have been.
yeah. I mean, the respect that she got from WWE, and like we could say so many things about WWE, obviously, but her final match in the company was a WWE championship match against
Yeah.
Bailey in Ryogoku Sumo Hall. Like
Hmm.
they set her up to have something very special for her and only her. And I think that again speaks to who she is and what she's been and the respect that seemingly everyone has for her. So just an awesome, awesome way to close things out. She'll be very missed, obviously, in the world of pro
Hmm.
wrestling. It's a hole that I don't think can be fixed for like Sendai Girls, but at the same time, as I said this watching the past 6 months, she wasn't here for years, right? Like
Yeah.
Sendai Girls was moving and working without her here. And as long as they're on Wrestle Universe, I think Sendai Girls can continue to climb up. The one thing Hashimoto said is, "I promise I will get us to that Nippon Budokan show, one way or the other." So I'm fascinated to see how they move forward. I think the very clear direction in Sendai Girls is Hashimoto and Sari.
Yeah.
I don't think they're hiding that. I think I said it last year. Like the moment Hashimoto wins this title, that is the big match. Plain and simple, which is very exciting. But hopefully they continue with the title defenses and so on, because I think that's part of them being exciting is keeping the belt active. And when you have Hashimoto as champion, that's all you need to do. But let's move on here to our final part of the show here. We had Marigold's Korakuen over a week ago. It's
Woo.
very late, but Marigold obviously very much in the news right now. So we'll look at this Korakuen, we'll look at their next Korakuen, um, and so on. But I thought this Korakuen for them was arguably the best Korakuen they've had to date, or at least maybe since Fields Forever, um,
Yeah, Feels
which
Forever
was
is probably
which was
unstoppable as number one.
yeah, for sure. But this was really, really good, with the main event
Hmm.
being just absolutely fantastic. So you had Hummingbird defeat Kimono Minami and Nagisa Tachibana in the opening. Then Yuki Minami defeated Riara. Megaton, Nagisa Nozaki, and Gigaton defeated Chen Yoda, Arina Yamanaka, and Ryoko Sakamura. And now we get to kind of the main three matches here, which are the main talking points from the show, especially a week later. Um, First up, you had the Twin Star Championship match. It was Nanae Takahashi and Sariyama Yoka defeating Chiaki and Misa Matsui. Maybe a shock to some. Um, when I was previewing it last week, I kind of just gave in to the fact that we're just gonna ride it with Nanae all the way. Like, there's why not just why why crown new champions when you could just have a tournament after the fact and build from there. That's kind of what I decided in the real time. If we want to push Mayu into a very quick Grand Slam, then maybe she could be the next tag champs with someone. But overall, I mean, the Twin Stars continue to be the best belts of the company. That was my main takeaway from this match. Nanae and Yamaoka have been such a fun duo to watch because you're watching one wrestler learn, you're watching the other finish up her career. Misa Matsui, fantastic. This was also, in my opinion, the best Chiaki performance in maybe her entire Marigold run. I just thought she was very solid here, and there was a confidence about her. I think there's a confidence about a lot of wrestlers when they're in there with Nanae, right? We saw
Hmm.
that, dating back to like Ryoko Sakamura's debut. We were all ready to like, okay, they found the one. Um, but yeah, I really enjoyed this. I thought the last two matches of the show were stronger than this, but hell of a three match combo, I thought, with this starting things off.
Yeah, no, the I think Chiaki works really well with two different people, and one of them isn't an eye. And then Misa Matsui is obviously just pretty excellent no matter what. So this was always going to be a good one. But I mean, everybody on the show was basically working to their best. I feel like the even the opener and Yuki Minami and stuff, they were working with more zip and fluidity than usual. So it's
Mm,
almost like Mayu phoned in advance and was like, "Get your shit together, guys,"
yeah,
because everybody was stepping up, and then in this one, it was like, okay, yeah, even Chiaki
yeah.
is stepping up. Like we're in for a good one.
Yeah, this was a show. Thank you for bringing that up. This was a show that they could feel the next time they were in this building, it was different.
Yeah.
And they're like, "We should probably, have one of our best showings to date," which was great, and, this was really good. We then had the World Championship, what did they exactly call this? It was like the I can't remember for the life of me. But it was like, Mariah, you have to prove your point. Like, are you able to challenge for the world title? Which was so mean, by the way, by Utami. But she did lose to Bozilla, so that's fine. Mariah definitely proved it in this match. I have this running joke maybe it's just by myself, but I pointed out to like you, Dylan, or Xavi anytime I watch. Anytime Mariah puts her hair up now, it's like, oh, this is scary. She's going to kill
Yeah.
someone. And she had her hair up. And you would have thought Utami was her least favorite person on earth, the way she was hitting her in this match. I thought this was really good. Again, shocker. In the week that I've seen what happened to Tommy Hayashishita, I'm reminded if you watch her, you know she's fine. The world title match, the world title reign's obviously been what it was, but as you so perfectly said it on Twitter, um, if you watch her tags, she's crushing it, right? Her and Mariah are literally running into each other and putting on matches worth your time every single time. Um, Mai Sakurai and Victoria Yuzuki filled their roles very well here. I
Oh,
liked
they
what
kicked
Yuzuki,
ass.
yeah, I think what Yuzuki and Mai did was very underappreciated, maybe because
Mm.
obviously the focus was on the other two, but like they worked really well. And I sat there thinking to myself before, obviously, Misa Matsui challenge, like, can we get Mai Sakurai like top tier challenge with someone on the roster? She feels like she's earned that with
Yeah.
her overall performances. And we did get that, but her and Yuzuki feels like a direction that you kind of should want to go in the long run. Maybe you can't until Yuzuki's gonna win that belt,
I
but
don't know.
I don't.
You can win it before then.
Yeah, see, you can run it
That's what the
before that.
white belt is for. It's for losing and
Very
then
true.
winning it anyway. You know, that's where
That's
we're
very
at.
true. But Mirai won, taking Utami's head off in the end with a
Yeah.
lariat. Um, I'm very excited for their world title match. They'll probably benefit also from not being the main event, because I would
Yeah.
assume the Nanae's matches. So that's gonna give them all the more to try and prove something. Uh, I've said it before, I'll say it again. Obviously, things change now because Mayu's around, but Mirai has embodied what the ace should be for this company. Every performance is a standout. She may not have like the match of the year every match like people look for, but she's having consistent great outings each time out there. And her Utami looks very ready to showcase it all. But like I said, Misa Matsui did challenge after this match. Her and Mai Sakurai happens this Sunday. We'll preview that here in a second. And finally, the main event. It was Marigold versus Marvelous in a knockout match, and it was just incredible. Um, just incredible. Like this rivalry is so good. It's so good. Like I don't care what the attendance number is. Like I am excited. Okay, like plain as and the attendance number this weekend's a little different. Um, but I am excited for what these two sides keep bringing to the table. And what they keep bringing to the table is this is pun intended passion. It is excitement. It is a level of seriousness that I think you can really appreciate in pro wrestling as well. Um, you could tell how much these promotions mean to these wrestlers.
Yeah.
Um, and the way they set this up was so well done. Kazuna Tanaka taking two out in the early going was the real. Shout out to Big Kiz. She was great. I know that was such a awesome way to start it and get the crowd really into it, taking out both Sori Ayame and Ai Hozan. And then Maria coming in and having the run she had, uh, evening the odds ultimately before her and Shozuki faced off. Um, Thought that was really, really good. Yes, my phone's ringing. I apologize. I can't do anything about it. Um, and then that kind of brought us to the highlight of the match, which was Miku Aono and Riko Kawahara. I mean, this was the match that I sat there and I was like, I need Miku Aono to accidentally kick Mayu this hard in one match they have. Like that will be insane. These two are awesome. Like I think Rico can be overlooked many times when you talk about some of the most exciting young wrestlers in the scene because she mostly does tag team stuff. And
Mhm.
when people talk about Marvelous, they talk about Takumi, they talk about Mio. But she deserves so much respect. And I think like watching her here, I was like, you know, we could just keep booking her. That'd be really cool. I mean, I want to book all of Marvelous, but I was like, I feel like there's a natural fit there with her seriousness that's really exciting. They went to the 10-minute draw. Then that led us to the final stretch of the match, which was, of course, Takumi Iroha feeling like the tallest mountain to climb, and Chika Goto, who, like, wow. Like, Chika Goto was so locked in. There was no, and the crowd was so behind her. Like, Chika Goto has been one of the most fascinating stories for Marigold, I think, over the past year, just seeing her
Mhm.
elevate herself and learn. And I think like, she's not perfect at anything, but what she's so good at is showing her charisma and her feelings in every match, and watching Takumi just destroy her was like the perfect way to end this. It's like you had this even back and forth, right? You had Marigold break out to the early lead, Maria come back and tie it, Mikuano and Rico would have this thing, and then Takumi's like, yeah, see, this is your problem. You guys didn't send in your best, and that's what you get for it. But Chika Goto did everything to be her best, and I just, like I said, this match was
Mhm.
fantastic. I wish I recorded this like a week ago before everything else in the world happened, because
Yeah.
at the time, like, it was the most exciting thing I had watched in forever. It's still fantastic. One of my favorite matches this year. Well worth your time. It's well worth your time. I know you're going to read that time. It's over 40 minutes, but it literally flies by because it's, so many separate matches. Um, but yeah, this story rules. And
It's
Takumi
great.
Roha, Takumi Roha saying, I want better wrestlers if we're going to keep doing this. And them now being able to send the icon is like, mm, it's
Yeah,
perfect.
they
It's
really
perfect.
did some good stuff and some deliberate stuff with like
Yes.
Iroha. Like the way she just felt like a real final boss almost, and
Yes.
her staring down the entire team as she pinned Chika Goto was legendary. Um, but like stuff like this always just is very well done, and I think it's one of those things Rossi is good at in that Chikagoto lost, but it makes sense in terms of everything they're doing with her because she was told you're not good enough to face Marvelous. She
Hmm.
messed with the order of the match herself and ultimately cost the team.
Yeah.
And it's like stuff like that is very easy storytelling, and
Mhm.
Kazuna like getting the two pins to start the match, and then Maria fighting back. It all is stuff that makes sense, and you can use it to build to something. Like Maria comes
Yeah.
out of this looking like a really credible wrestler too.
Yeah.
Um,
She sold her arm
and
like hell,
she did,
which
and that like the match
was cool.
itself was a great like indication of what makes Marigold so good because it was so
Yeah.
grounded and so realistic, and like the
Mhm.
submissions were really well sold. And it's something that Marigold has done over the past year to separate itself from the other Joshi feds. Is it's a
Yeah.
lot more grounded, especially in the past few months. And this match was a lot of that.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, I just think they did so much good work, and they made Takumi look like an absolute god.
Yeah.
And she's feeling it. She's always been at her best when she has something to really work with and people to like
I
bully.
I
Um,
don't wanna be that guy, but she's often at her best when, Rossi comes calling as well.
Yeah, like, that but even, like, her peak in Marvelous was when they had
Yeah.
the Shindo Hoshizuki class for her to just bully
That's
and to be
true.
like, "I'm the best in this company. Where's Mio? Where's Mio gone?"
Yeah.
Because Mio was injured, and they
Yeah.
built the big Mio Takumi match, which is one of, like, the best ever.
Oh, it's
But
so
that's always been what she does, is she's like, "I'm a bully. I am better than all of you. Come fight
mhm.
me." And, Marigold is in a good position where they have people who they can slot in. You can easily do Takumi and Utami if you want. You can do
Yeah.
Takumi and Mayu if you want. And they're going to be big matches because they did the legwork like this to make her feel like a very big deal.
Mhm. Part of me is playing the game of having Takumi actually be the one to beat Utami right now.
Yeah, I
Um,
would agree. I think it would be
like, I
fun.
just feel like that running over the company, because the Sari thing did so well, but now Takumi would have an army behind her,
Hmm.
which makes it so much more interesting. Obviously, Miyamoto is gonna come back, and that's gonna be part of it, which is so exciting. Um, and we know where the next part of this goes. Oh my god, if my phone rings again. The next part of this will be on the 10th. It will be the Twin Star Championship match as Nanae Takahashi and Tsuru Yamaoka defend against Magenta. Riko Kawahata and Maria, that match should be awesome. So this just keeps being the best story going for Marigold, for Marvelous.
Yeah.
Everyone's benefiting from it, and I think that's
Hmm.
the win. But right now, for those keeping tally, Marvelous is up in the series. They're up 2-1. So
Oh wow.
um, it's always fun to keep track of. But let's head now to the rest of the week. Um, because this show has gone long and because these are house shows, we'll just quickly go through results here. On what day was this? The 26th. So on Saturday, we had a house show from Osaka. A fine show. Kamomo Minami defeated Riara. So nice to see Kamomo Minami back and getting wins. Natsumi Shizuki and Riko Sakamura defeated Yuki Minami and Nagisa Tachibana. Let me just get to the main event here. Gigaton and Megaton defeated Flying Penguin and Hummingbird. Chikagoto, Mai Sakurai, and Mikuano went to a time limit draw with Shiaki Misamatsui and Nagisa Nozaki. Celine Flora, Kazuna Tanaka, and Victoria Yuzuki teamed up with Utami Hayashishita to defeat the team of Suri Yamaoka, Rhea Seto, and Mirai. I thought this main event was quite good. If you're looking for house show work from Marigold that isn't a Korakuen, I thought this was a fun one. Kind of really the illustration of some of their best stars from this year, and who's really jumping out. I think Rhea Seto is obviously one that has kind of taken a lot of people's attention over the past couple, I want to say months, but really, it feels like the past month especially, she's kind
Hmm.
of standing out, which is really cool. So, definitely, if you're looking for something to watch, check that one out. Then, of course, we head to Nagoya. This would kind of be the last big talking point here. But in Nagoya, Jungle Kiona made her return to the ring. But before that, Riko Sakamura defeated Hummingbird and Nagisa Tachibana. Natsumi Shizuki defeated Riara. Suriyami defeated Kamomo Minami. I will say this match, the Suriyami singles match of I'm a rookie and I'm younger than all of you, or in terms of her pro wrestling experience. So you can beat me up, but I'm still gonna win. Is very funny. Misa Matsui and Gigaton defeated Chikagoto and Yuki Minami. Kazuna Tanaka, Mikuano, and Mai Sakurai defeated Shiaki, Megaton, and Nagisa Nozaki. And like I said, the exhibition match, Jungle Kiona returning to the ring for the first time since 2023. Yes, that is correct. At a Nomad show, by the way. Um, remember that?
Yeah.
So she's back we know she's back longer than for now. After competing through the 5 minutes, which very clearly to me was I want to try to come back, but at the same time, I also want to face the Nanae. So let's just do it all at once. Um, she got in there, and she ran the ropes very well, probably better than she probably expected. That was pretty much the basis of the match. Was like, let me take a few bumps, let me run the ropes, and let me just live being a pro wrestler again, which was really really nice. And her and Nanae had a fun 5 minutes. And the big takeaway is that Jungle Kiona does plan to indeed come back in some full form.
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't know what that full form is. I don't know if that's once a month, twice a month, but whatever it is, it's a big addition, presumably, to Marigold in some form here. No matter how you may feel about Jungle Kiona, uh, she has a connection with the fans that you can't teach. Nagoya sold out that day, if I'm not mistaken, or came damn near close,
Seems like it. Yeah.
which will be their best to date, I believe, in that venue. So that's just again a sign of how much love there is for
Hmm.
Jungle. And if you're adding Jungle and Mayu Iwatani to Marigold in any form, it's a win. Like I said, this felt like Jungle kind of rushing herself to get something in with Nanae before she retires. I don't expect her maybe to be around in a more full time capacity than maybe the summer, maybe the fall. Um, but the fact that she got to do this was really, really cool. And ultimately, what you're just hoping for when it comes to Jungle is a way to end her career on the right note. I think that's what everyone wants, because she has went through hell the past 5 years, and it seems like she's in such a great place now. She seems very happy. So yeah, I'm just rooting for her to complete her career. She said she wants to win some Marigold championships. So
Yeah, she's already talked smack to Utami and a little bit of smack to Yuzuki, so she's really putting the working boots on. She's like, I'm gonna get these matches one way or another.
yeah, she did. She also showed a lot of love to Mayu this week. So obviously Mayu, for those who don't remember, had the jungle paint on her face pretty much through 2020 and 2021 in support of
Yeah,
her. Even when Jungle was gone from the company, she was doing it. So um, I'm sure we'll see them share the ring very soon. But yeah, it was very cool to see Jungle back in there in Nagoya. And yeah, I'm wishing her the best in her comeback. And then you had a main event. It was Utami Hayashishita and Victoria Yuzuki versus Mirai and Rhea Seto, which was a lot of fun as well. Um, you know, kind of the usual. The best part of the Saturday one was then they just went into the crowd and started doing the lariat running at each other, which was really funny. Like everyone get out of the way so we can do this. I thought that was fun. Um, but yeah, that is it. I know they had a show in Yokohama as well. I did not get to that one because, like I said, this has been the longest week ever of my
yeah,
life, of your life, of everyone's life. I've done so many recordings. I'm so tired.
you poor thing.
Um,
I don't know how
yeah,
you've done it.
I've done it to myself. That's about the best thing I could say.
Yeah,
But it is what it is. I'm gonna preview this upcoming weekend because that's really the most important part here, which starts with oh my god, that's there we go. It starts on Saturday. The show is as followed. The show is in Hamamatsu. You have Hummingbird, Ryoko Sakamura versus Nagisa Tachibana and Riara. Miku Ano and Kazuna Tanaka versus Chika Goto and Kamomo Minami. Mai Sakurai, Natsumi Shozuki, they'll face Misa Matsui and Chiaki. Siri Yamaoka, Nanae Takahashi, and Rhea Seto face Nagisa Nozaki, Gigaton, and Megaton. I think this is the first time now Ishikawa and Nanae are sharing a ring in like forever.
yeah. This is just gonna give him some receipts.
Yep, sure seems that way. And then it will be the main event, continuing with Mirai and Utami. It'll be Mirai and Yuki Minami this time around. They'll be facing Utami
Fun.
and Victoria Izuki. Yeah, it's something. Um, anyways, let's get to the big show. This is really the main preview everyone's
Oh
here
shit,
for.
yeah, the Korakuen.
Uh-huh. Which of course includes the debut of Mayu Iwatani in Marigold. Still surreal to say. Your opening match will be Rhea Seto, Kamomo Minami, and Hummingbird teaming up to face Nagisa Tachibana, Ryoko Sakamura, and Yuki Minami. You have Nao Ishikawa making her return as she celebrates her anniversary. She'll wrestle in a three-way match against Arina Yamanaka and Riara. She asked for it. She got a match. It's nice to see Nao Ishikawa back. Fascinated to see if we actually continue that story or this is just the one-off and we'll never see it again. Natsumi Suzuki, Chikagoto, and Chan Yoda will face Nagisa Nozaki, Chiaki, and Megaton. And then we have Miku Ano versus Kazuna Tanaka, a match that Kazuna Tanaka requested after the Marvelous versus Marigold match uh, last week. So obviously a very fun singles on the undercard. Looking forward to that one. Then we have the United National Championship. It will be Mai Sakurai versus Misa Matsui. I don't expect them to do a title change, but it's the
No,
first time it feels like they could do one. But Mai Sakurai is definitely bringing that belt into Shine Forever. But Misa Matsui, obviously a step up now. She is now in the United National title scene, which is great and deserved. And I think this could be Mai's best match of her entire defense. So
interesting.
I'm excited for that. I mean, Mai has done matches with Chen Yoda and Yamanaka
Mm,
and Nozaki. Two of those felt like, let's see what Mai can do. The other one was with Nozaki, was a strong way to start it. Misa Matsui feels like a prove it one for both of them. So,
yeah.
and being third on the card, they're probably going to both be determined to show out here. So, looking forward to that. This show is on Sunday, like I said. I'll be up live and watching it because you think I'm missing Mayu's debut. You're nuts. I've already been up for everything else this week. Why not be up for one more
Yeah,
thing?
might as well. It's
This might
Golden
be the
Week.
most normal
Live a
time,
little.
I think. Yeah, I know, I'm doing my best. The semi-main event should absolutely rock. It's Utami Hayashishita, Victoria Yuzuki versus Mirai and Seiya Mioka. I mean, hell yeah.
God
I
bless.
have no I have no problem with this one. This is gonna rock, but we're here for the main event. And that will be Nanae Takahashi versus Mayu Iwatani. It going through these results, right? Obviously, we talked about Mayu earlier, but going through these results and landing now here, it's like kind of surreal. Just be like, oh
Yeah.
right, she's here. She's here. She is the cover of Wrestle Universe, by the way, for no one that's
Yes.
seen. They had her on the cover before the press conference was over. I was like, they put her on the cover over the big Noah show, and then they had to fix it because they were like, hold on, the Noah show's first. And I don't know if you know this, Cyberfight owns Noah. They don't own Marigold. So again, the franchise is here. They know who the big star is. Uh, this match
So do the people.
this match is going to be incredible. Back to back weekends with match of the year contenders. Mayu has been waiting and waiting and waiting just to remind everyone. Oh, yeah, by the way, I don't know if you guys remember, I'm actually the best. I made a joke after the Shuri match that her and Sari gave everyone 4 months to figure their shit out. Like,
Yeah.
you guys can all go on your wrestler of the year starts. We'll catch up. And I think Mayu's doing an absolute like record run to get there with these two matches because she's probably going to be off most of the month. I'm sure she'll
Mm.
dive in for a match or two before Shine Forever. But I mean, between her match with Shuri and now this one, I mean, this is incredible. In terms of the result, I think it's obvious that Mayu should win. but
Yeah. If
but
no,
it is
if
not.
Mayu doesn't beat Nanae,
No
nobody
one is.
will. Like that's
Yeah. If
crazy.
it's
That
a,
would be
if
insane.
it's if it's for some reason not the main event, which they won't do because this show sold out for these two. Um, but if it wasn't the main event, is when I'd be like, oh, they're going to a draw. But when it
Yeah.
is the main event, I'm pretty confident Mayu's getting the win. This is the first match between the two since 2012.
Wow. And
Isn't
they're
that
both
insane?
very different. Nanae in
Yes.
2012 was not a Nanae of the modern day. I don't think she was as good, kind of, in some
Yeah,
ways. So
I said this, and I kind of want to get your thoughts on it. I feel like Nanai has always she's always kind of wrestled the same, and like her older version is better now because like a lot of that skill set was similar, like the moves and stuff she did. But I feel like she's just again. I think Dylan called it like Yuji Nagata. I don't know, like if you ever seen him, like he always like wrestled old, kind of,
yeah.
but it graces better as they get older because it's like, oh, you're just still great. And if not, it stands out more because you're older and you should be getting worse, but you're actually greater, which is fascinating. And obviously, Mayu's not even remotely close to who she was in 2012. That's the funny part about like when people talk about her and Io. It's like, oh, the first match in like 8 years, and holy shit, look at Mayu now. It's like those matches are great. What does this look like? And Io's, I would argue, could be even better, but especially by the last time they had their last match when Io was our last title match when Io was hold on by a thread. I
Oh
don't know if
yeah.
people remember
Yeah.
that. So this will be incredible. I cannot wait for it. I don't know if there will be a match anytime soon that will be more highly anticipated for me, but it starts Mayu's Marigold career, which is again surreal because I just finished reviewing her final match of Stardom, and we're here. Like it's just she said she wanted to get right into the action. She was not kidding.
Wow.
um, which is incredible. And then on the 5th, Nanai's very busy this week. It'll be Tachibana versus Misa Matsui, Victoria Yuzuki, and Kazuna Tanaka versus Chikagoto Komo Minami. Mai Sakura and Ryoko Sakamura versus Yuki Minami and Chiaki. Utai Hashishita and Riara versus Megaton and Gigaton. Oh, they
Hmm.
really changed this one up. No Mirai on the show. Fascinating.
That's very odd.
This might be her media day. I think she has a media
Oh
day
yeah.
or some sort coming up. They'll face, and then the main event: Sariya Mioka, Nai Takahashi, Rhea Seto versus Miku Aono, Natsumi Shizuki, and Hummingbird. So that's
Hummingbird
that.
with Nanae is good in her current form.
That's true. And then the show on the 6th, the final show of Golden Week. God bless. because I am tired already.
Yeah.
It will be Tachibana, Minami, and Hummingbird versus Matsui, Gigaton, and Megaton. You have Komo Minami and Chikagoto versus Sakamura and Riara. Mai Sakurai and Natsumi Shozuki versus Chiaki and Nagisa Nozaki. Miku Ano goes 1-1 with Rhea Seto in your main event of Tommy. Victoria Zuki and Kazuna Taka versus Nanae Takahashi, Tsuri Yamaoka, and Mirai. So that is that. We are here. We are done. Thank you, Alex, for joining me. I am absolutely exhausted, but I appreciate it. Hit us with those plugs before we get out of here.
Yeah, I mean, I talk a lot more on Stardom Quest. It's the show I host, and it's where I get
You
a
have
lot
no
of my
choice.
thoughts
You have
out.
to.
Yes, it's Stardom Quest or Stardom Quest Gold, depending on who you ask. We cover Stardom and Marigold every week, reviews, previews, and it's a fun enough show. If you listen to Scott, you're gonna have a lot of same stuff covered. But I like to think Dylan and I have interesting perspectives. So
Yeah. I think
you know,
everyone should listen to all the Joshi shows because no one thinks the same.
yeah, that's true.
Personally,
That's pretty fun.
everyone.
That's a great way of looking at it.
Yeah, no one thinks the same. I think everyone has a different perspective. I mean, I'm just here to talk about Mayu and Sari, and everything else just happens to be there. Um, you got you guys do a great job. So obviously check out Stardom Quest Gold, Stardom Quest, whichever you prefer to call it. I'll always call it Stardom Quest, but actually I usually just call it SQ. I don't even call it the full name.
Yeah,
Um,
same.
Okay, cool. I'm happy we're on the same page. But like I said at the top of the show, you can check out all the stuff I've done this week if you have the time. If you don't have the time, I didn't really have the time, but I did it anyways. Breaking news with Mayu Iwatani signing with Marigold. That was up. We had breaking news of her leaving Stardom. You get genuine, full reactions from me for both of them right after those press conferences. And like I said, the All Star Grand Queendom reviews over on the Fight Game Media Network YouTube channel that's also available on podcast as well as right here on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/@Scott E Wrestling with Walker Stewart, who of course was there to call the show. But that is it for me. That is it from Alex. Until next week. So long, everybody. See
Bye
ya.
bye.